Growing, the podcast where we refuse to stay stuck and be ripe and rotting. I'm Wade Perry, your host, and I'm here to help you thrive in every corner of your life, whether it's mindset, business, fitness, and any other area you choose. Together, we're going to unpack the lessons, insights, and game-changing strategies to keep you green and growing. Today, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our guest, John Fotheringham. He is 22 years in the Air Force. John, thank you for serving our country. I think we all agree that freedom is not free. John's going to bring his firsthand experience in helping military families find homes near bases, applying values of integrity and service before self. And as a military relocation professional, he uses his recruiting and builder connections to offer tailored options and dedicated support. So in this episode, we're going to explore his journey from Air Force to real estate, unpack the challenges of the business, and many more. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, John, can you start by sharing what initially inspired you to focus on real estate for military families after your own experience in the Air Force?
After moving numerous times, the very first move I made was coming back from Europe, being married, coming back from Europe, and went to South Dakota. Well, I've been to South Dakota before, but only as a tourist, so not to live. So I didn't know the area. Going there and having to try and find a place to live, base housing. Usually there's a waiting list, which could be 1 to 2 years. So you
Wow.
have to look for a place. And when you don't know where you're going, you don't know the neighborhoods, you don't know traffic, nothing about it, you're kind of on your own, you're stuck. And that's kind of what inspired me, is to be that individual that you can contact before you even get there, to talk to you about the neighborhoods, talk to you about what traffic's like. If you have kids, send you information or tell you where you can get the information on schools. And one of the things that people don't even think about too is I had 2 Newfoundlands. So
Oh,
what's it like moving with large dogs? A lot of renters won't let you in, hotels won't let you in. So you're there to help. And I don't want somebody to have to go through some of the experiences I did.
so John, you are really bringing your firsthand experience going
Yes.
through this base to base to base and landing in areas where you don't know anybody, you don't know the lay of the land, you don't know what's a good area, bad area. And on top of that, you've got 2 really big dogs. And a Newfoundland probably goes, what, 120, 140
Um,
pounds, 120
the
pounds, not
small
quite.
one was around 120. The larger one was close to 170.
Okay, so you drop into these towns, you don't know where you're going, you don't know, the good part, the bad part. You just know you got a base you got to be at, and you are, if I heard you right, 1 to 2 years away from them providing housing, so you got to find it. So you really
Yes.
drew on your own experience as inspiration to go help others.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
Exactly. So.
And just out of curiosity, has that lended credibility when you go and talk to a military family down in the Colorado Springs area? For those of you around the country that aren't familiar, we have a huge presence for the Air Force in the Colorado Springs area. And are you finding this as instant credibility when you meet with a potential buyer that you've walked that path already?
Yes, yeah, it makes a difference when they're talking to you compared to others that aren't military. There's a lot of military realtors out there, so pick and choose and make sure you get with the right one. But if they know that you've experienced what they're experiencing now, like right now, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. So we
Okay.
have 4 different bases just in our area alone. We're called Military City,
Wow.
USA. So say somebody up there in Colorado Springs is relocating down here. Well, if they're Army, they probably had never been down here. Navy's never been down here, but we have a lot of schools. Marines have never been down here. Air Force, if you've been here and you're enlisted, you've only been here for basic training. So housing, food,
Gotcha.
everything's taken care of for you there. But you don't really know the area. It's
Sure.
very, very large. And
Well, I've got to think that the people that you encounter really get whether they realize it or not, subconsciously, they enjoy a much greater peace of mind when they meet with you, John, because you've been down that path. And maybe they express it, maybe they don't even realize it. But my guess is once they learn that you've been through this the hard way, that their level of relaxation with you increases dramatically.
yes,
From your perspective, and you've got 22 years of bounce around bases, and now you're helping people find their homes when they land in base. From your perspective, what are the unique challenges that a military family faces during relocation? And a second part of that question is, how do you help alleviate those challenges?
unique challenges. Biggest is moving to the unknown. If
Okay,
you've never been there or you've only been there for business, you don't know what you're walking into. You don't know, like I was saying earlier, you don't know the neighborhoods. You don't know what traffic times are and the best times. You don't know distance from the base to where your house is and how long that's going to take you. Some
mm-hmm.
places do it by mileage. Some places, like down here, is by time.
Mm-hmm.
So
How about
that is
how
the
about
biggest
things?
challenges.
How about things like a doctor, a dentist, uh, where to get your hair cut, grocery store, schools? I mean, these
Exactly.
are all
Schools are
day
big.
to day things. Schools are big.
Schools are big. Now I can say, as I mentioned earlier, I moved with dogs, so you got to know where your nearest vets at, because they aren't
Sure.
any vets on base, no matter where you're at. Uh, the schools, I've moved my son since he was in preschool all the way up to high school. So
Oh
I had
boy.
to research schools myself and try and figure out which is the best, which is the worst. Uh, Spouses who have to change jobs constantly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big challenge because you can have a career in one place. Well, now you have to leave that career. And unlike today, where you can sometimes work from home and stay at the same company, things are getting back to normal again. And that's not the case. So now they have to find jobs. So you can help them. Who are the big employers in the area? Who are the best
Sure.
schools in the area? Uh, where's the best shopping? Where where's the grocery
And
store?
and on a sub note, I'm guessing that you probably have a unique ability, being from the military, um, for 22 years. No matter where you drop into, in this case, San Antonio, um, you have the ability to tie into a network of people who have already been through this and connect them. So maybe you've got a spouse who they had to give up their job, but if you could tie them into a network where you are, maybe they could help find them their next job. Does that ever happen?
It has happened. As a matter of fact, there are times where I've even asked for the spouse, whether it's a husband or a wife, what's their resume look like?
Mm,
Because it's tough. You have to stand out. And when you're coming from a different location, you really got to show what you have to offer. And it's the same when it comes down to finding that place to live. You have to show whether you're renting, you have this to offer, or if you're going to buy, uh, you have this to offer, because now you got to deal with lenders. And I have contact with a lot of VA lenders just in the area alone. Credit repair, I can help you with your credit repair. Not me personally,
no, but
but I do
you
have.
meaning you have those connections.
Yes, yes. So I have all these connections that before you get to me, you got 6 months before you even move when you get your orders. Contact me right then and there, and I can start working the things for you at that point. And so that way, all the stress is taken off. All you got to do is focus on getting your stuff moved, when you're going to move, how much time you're going to take off before you come down, because I suggest take a vacation before you go from one place to another. Relax, reset, come down here fresh and new. I have everything ready for you. I will send you houses that meet your needs. Tell me what your needs are. Tell me what your wants are. I will mix those up and see if I can match them all. Send them to you, and we'll go from there.
John, I want to take a quite a slight pivot off of this. You just brought up something that's really, really important for the audience to hear. So people who are looking to relocate to the greater San Antonio area, particularly if you're in the military, but even if you're not in the military, this is really
Right.
sound advice. You need to listen to what John's telling you. John, how far in advance should somebody reach out to you if they're considering moving to San Antonio? How far out?
About 6 months.
About
About
6 months. So if
Yes.
somebody's thinking, I think San Antonio's on our list next year, it's never too soon to reach out to John and start a conversation of, hey, we have kids the following ages. They need to be in such and such level of school. We need to be this far from base. We need, et cetera, et cetera. But they need to be contacting you now, not later, correct?
Right.
I
Yes.
think that's a really, really big move on your part to have a full service concierge level of service providers in so many areas of their life that they don't even know they're going to need, because all they're
That's
thinking is
true.
we have to be there. We need a house. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't need a house. You need a life. So
Right.
I think it's
So
great that you're providing that.
and the average time to do credit repair, if needed, 6 months.
Yep.
The
I think what you're
average
doing
time
is
to
smart.
you want a new build from ground up, average time there 6 months. So
Hmm.
take a look at that, and really prioritize your needs at that point, and then we can work on your wants during those 6 months.
All right, everybody heard it. You need to call John at least 6 months out. But if it's not 6 months, I hear John works miracles. If you're getting moved there in the next 3 months, I'll bet he could still get it done. John, let's
Oh,
shift
yes.
over to your background in recruiting, because we were talking off camera that after 22 years, you went into recruiting, and you were recruiting for an Alaska-based company. How have those communication skills in recruiting, how does that translate into your work today, especially when you're advocating to clients?
The big thing is being 22 years military, I speak your language. So I
Mm,
know what you're saying, when you're saying it, and what it is, and your priorities at that point. Uh, Military talk a lot in acronyms. So I can translate those acronyms over to lenders, to credit repairs, to builders, to homeowners, to other agents that we're working with. Uh, that's the biggest thing with the communication is translating that. Military speak completely different. I'm still trying to get used to
yes,
it
they do.
sometimes.
So now you're back into the civilian world and saying, where are all the acronyms? Come on. you know, KP, really? What's that? In the business world, it's KPI. I don't even know what that is, right?
Exactly.
Um, so it's not even so much that you've walked through the fiery furnace of being relocated many times and having a blueprint for here's everything that somebody's going to go through when they're in a military relocation. You've been through it, but you also know all of the language that they're used to. So not only do you give them comfort to say, I've been through this fire, but I also talk your language. And I'll bet that puts them at ease as well.
Yes, yes, it really helps, and you'd be surprised. Uh, Say you got a 15-year active duty member, their spouse who's never served one day, but to me, it's a military family. They all serve. Don't get me wrong. He or she will also speak that same military language. Why? Because they're
Mhm.
used to their spouse speaking it. So they've picked it up. The children will pick it up. Uh, it's
I
just,
think that's
it
great.
becomes a basic language, and they all understand each other at that point. The other
You
good
know,
thing is I mentioned resumes. I can help with those resumes, and my connections from recruiting. I know employers, I know government contractors in the area, I know state, local governments that are hiring. So I have a lot of created a big network of not just real estate related individuals, but everything from IT to medical to, if you can think of it, I've dealt with it. I've even recruited
I
horse trainers. So
I don't doubt that. When it comes to connections, you mentioned that you have strong ties with builders to offer customized options.
yes.
How do you use these relationships to enhance the options for military families that are looking for a new home or a tailored home?
A lot of these builders reach out to me constantly, letting me know what they have on inventory, what they need to get rid of. Uh, Especially like now at the end of year, they have houses that they built and they're ready to move in now. So you can get somebody in a house within a week or two that's already there.
Let me ask you
They have
this. Just
incentives.
Mhm.
I'm sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, go, no, no, go
They
right
have
ahead.
incentives for military and veterans, so we can get them at lower costs than most people. I know
Okay,
when there's new neighborhoods coming up, I know all their building plans, so I can present you with floor plans of different houses. And when it comes to veterans that aren't in, we can discuss with the builder to make sure their house is ADA compliant too, which
sure.
I've done
That
with
that becomes
a
that
young
becomes
lady
important.
here. Yes.
Let me kind of shift just a tad on that. And the people who I like to say that I don't have any regrets in my life, or I wouldn't be where I am. Meaning, if you changed anything in your past, obviously would change where you end up. The whole butterfly flaps its wings, in Vietnam, you get a hurricane in California. But there is one thing that I wished I had done, and that was serve. It at that stage of my life, I really thought I was going into professional sports, and it didn't work out. But that derailed me. But I think about, nobody says I'm going to be a part of the United States military because I want to be rich. Correct?
Exactly. And nobody gets into
Nobody's
real estate to say the same thing. Believe it or not,
Yes.
misconceptions of what you see on TV and
Hmm. So when I think about a military family who are giving, in some cases, the ultimate sacrifice sometimes, and maybe
yes,
even the second ultimate sacrifice, which is not necessarily giving your life, but you are giving your lifestyle to your country, to your neighbors, etc. And they don't have a bank account that's overflowing. So
no,
having a new build contacts with many builders is a huge thing for you, I would think, because now you can get people into a home that's brand new and doesn't need a lot of upgrades. It doesn't need a lot of fixing, a lot of repairs because a prior owner ruined it. I would think that strong connections with builders is a big, big thing for you to provide great service and great opportunities for your military clients. Are you seeing that? And how does
yes.
that play out?
A lot of the new builds look at all the home warranties that come with them that won't come with a pre-existing house. Uh, Lately, I've been seeing now is to more of an incentive is they are giving you the stove, the refrigerator. Otherwise, you may have to buy because somebody may take them with.
Hmm.
I'm even seeing them with the garage door openers, so you don't even have to have that installed. They take care of your yard and your sod, and they set everything up. So there is so many things that they do now to attract buyers, that they come to us, especially the military professionals, to get them in there. The only thing is that I do want to let you know, if you are buying a house at your next station, make sure you pay attention to how long you're going to be there, because when you leave, you want to make sure you have enough equity in this home to be able to sell it and not turn upside down. So that is important. That's something I talk to them about too.
Boy, that is really, really great advice from a realtor. I share the same opinion, and that when I'm talking to somebody, in my case, maybe not a military family, but maybe it's a young couple or a young individual that is looking to buy their first home, and I tell them, are you going to live in this area? Maybe not this exact block, but in the general area of Denver for the next 3 years. And if the answer is yes, you should probably be buying a home. If the
Yes.
answer is I don't know, or it's less than three, I can't promise you that you're going to end up ahead in 3 years. You likely will, but if it's 2 years, you may not. You may be even. There's no way for me to know. So I applaud you, John, because you're giving really sound, sage financial advice to these young couples that traditionally may not be financially savvy, and they may not think that way because they're distracted by that shiny object. Like, I want to own a home. But what you're doing is you're being a great father figure to stand on that shoulder and say, hey, I don't want you to make a mistake. I want you to do it the
Because
right
I've
way.
done it. Because I've done it.
No,
I've
you've
done
done it.
exactly
Okay.
that. So I know exactly what it feels like. Our first home, it happened to be here in San Antonio. I was stationed down here before, bought a house. A year later, I got orders.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
And
So I tried using those signs that you see as we buy houses.
yes.
Let me tell you, you got to be careful. There are people out there that will prey on the military and their houses. So you got to be careful who you're speaking to, and when you're speaking to them, and make sure you have somebody else. Even if you don't use me as your realtor, you come across something like that, contact me anyway. It won't cost you absolutely nothing. I will do the research on these individuals and make sure that you don't end up in a situation that I did. So
So let's go through that just one more time. So you're now stationed somewhere, and you have to sell it in less than 2 years, and you know you're going to be underwater after costs, and you reach out to one of these um, companies that advertise on
predators,
billboards, on signs on the side of the road. We buy ugly houses, and you're thinking this guy's going to be my savior, and it turns out that's not the case, and they try to take advantage of you.
now don't get me wrong, not all of those people that do that
Sure.
are after your money or after your house, but there are a lot that are.
Hmm. It's
I
unfortunate.
ended up saying, okay, what we'll do is we'll do a rent to own style, not a
Mm,
true rent to own, but a rent to own style, where he takes over. I sign the house over to him, but yet I'm still making the payments. And he'll
yeah.
rent to
Yeah.
individuals. And if it doesn't sell in 6 months, he'll buy the house. So these
Mm,
individuals are poor credit, low income, can't afford it. So he has to evict them before the 6 months and put another individual in there who is the same situation. And every time it hits 5 months, they leave and another. So you're still paying your mortgage, yet you're paying your rent or a mortgage at another house,
yeah.
which
Right.
most likely won't happen because you won't be able to get another mortgage.
No, not on
It
that level
just
of income.
continues
It's,
happening. And when we finally moved back after retiring, it took me $25,000 in 6 months to make that house livable again. That's how destroyed it got. So,
So, ladies and gentlemen, John Fotheringham, he's been there. He's done it. He's walked through the fiery furnace. And we're gonna get to a couple things in a moment. But before we do, for military families that are unsure about the housing market, we have obviously a lot going on, especially today,
yes.
being election
Yes.
day. But there's a lot going on. We have multiple wars around the globe. We have mortgage rates that are now over 7%. Will the Fed cut more? Is that going to send rates higher or lower? Obviously, we've got a presidential election. Nobody really knows what that's going to mean. For the military families that are unsure about the housing market, what advice would you offer to guide them through the process of buying and selling today?
It's tough. It's hard to say right now. The best way to do it is, unfortunately, you don't have a choice whether you're moving or not. So
Mm,
look at what you have in equity. Look what you can do with the house. Make sure that you can, at least if you're going to sell it and you want to make a profit, that you have to have that equity in it. Otherwise, look at breaking even, or keep that house and use it as an investment home and rent it out.
mm.
Make sure you set the rent for just a bit higher than what your mortgage payments are, and let that renter pay for your mortgage for you while you're searching for a house down here. If that's the case, your best bet is probably to rent at that time too, because you can't get two VA loans out at the same time most of the
No,
time.
and so it comes back to a couple of things, and one is how long will you be stationed?
Exactly.
Because that's a key that can eliminate the confusion right there and put them into an immediate rent if they know it's a short term. Um,
Correct.
but as far as they know they're going to be there for a while, do you subscribe to the thought that buy the home and date the rate? And what I mean by that is, if you know you're going to be there for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you know this is a long-term station. Don't worry about the interest rate being 7, 7 and 1/8, 7 and 1/4, because rates will come down at some point in the next year and you'll have the chance to refinance. Or would you suggest that people get to your station, rent for 6 months, learn the lay of the land, and then we'll go out looking?
That's an option. You can do that, and that's kind of what I did my first time. Is I rented before and did that time. But then again, I didn't have anybody helping me on the outside prior to me getting there. The biggest
Sure,
thing when it comes
you didn't have a John.
no, no, the biggest thing is to shop for your loan. Don't just go to your bank and say, this is where I'm getting my loan. Look at other companies. Get at least 3 or 4 different loan companies. Find out what they're offering you. Look at different loans. Just because you're military or you're a veteran doesn't mean your VA is going to be your best one. Look at
Okay.
FHA. Look at conventional loans. There
So
are chances that those come out better. Uh, some people say, well, don't do it until you lock in a rate. Well, if you lock in your
mm,
rate, that's exactly what that means. It's locked in.
yeah,
So if it's for military and veterans, 5% or higher, and you're locked in at that, there's nothing you can do about that. So
right.
look at other options. Get with
You
somebody
know,
who can walk you through it and help you review and
John, I'm
that.
getting the impression that you're a genuine servant, and that's what the real estate industry needs. That's what these military families need. They need a servant. They need somebody who has been there and done that, who has walked the path before them, has seen the pitfalls, has seen the trouble on the side of the road, has made the mistakes, has seen what works and what doesn't work, You speak the language. You're a gem. You
Thank you.
are a tribute to our industry. You are the type of person our industry needs. And your buyers and sellers, even though they're in the midst of an emotional storm when they go through this process, when they come out the other end and you're handing them keys or they're receiving a check, I've got to think that once the dust settles, that you got people that really appreciate, respect, and like you a lot.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I am
Well,
not what people say agents are salesmen. I'm not a salesman. I am your representative. Whether
I
you are
like that.
buying, you are selling, it is your interests that are my interests.
I like that. John, we're going to wrap it up here in just a moment, but I
Thank you.
want to leave you with something, and this is for the audience as well, that, and I think you embody this. I think this fits what you are doing. And I think that the buyers and sellers that are interviewing you and they're thinking about maybe talking to somebody else, they need to hear this next piece. And that is whether you're going to hire a lawyer, whether you're going to hire a doctor, whether you're going to go buy a car, whether you're going to hire a realtor, you need to get three things right. Number one, is the person that I'm talking to an expert? Are they an expert in what I'm about to go through? Notice I didn't say they're perfect, because nobody's perfect, but are they an expert? And John, you are an expert when it comes to helping a military family in relocating to a new base, because you've been there, you've done that. Number two, do you have a good communication style? You're going to have some difficult conversations. The seller wants this, the buyer wants to pay this. There might be problems with the house. They're not going to get together and sing Kumbaya. Shocker, I know. But you need to have a great communication style with your realtor. And with John Fotheringham in your corner for a military relocation, he speaks your language. He understands what your family's going through. And number three, do you honestly believe that the person you're interviewing has more concern about your house and family well-being than their own commission check? And I don't think there's any doubt, when people have listened to this podcast with you, John, that you fit all three of those boxes. So, John, I want you to share with the group, how can people get a hold of you? Share your name, your phone number, your email address. How do people reach you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can get a hold of me. You can call or text at area code 210-426-7070, or just email me at john.fotheringham. And the last name is spelled just like it sounds, Father, Ingham, at joinreal.com. Or you can
So
find me
it's
on Instagram, on Facebook,
so it's
TikTok.
John.Fotheringham at joinreal.com.
Yes,
Perfect. And John, one more time, your phone number.
210-426-7070. And I
John,
do
it has
take
been
calls or text.
I love it. John, it has been a privilege and a pleasure to spend this time with somebody who has dedicated his life to protecting our nation, to protecting all of our citizens, and now you're protecting other military families in their pursuit of finding a home for their families. So, on behalf of our nation, I want to thank you for your service. And for all of you out there, I want you to know that we are thankful for joining us in this episode of Green and Growing. If this episode sparked something in you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're listening. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for more inspiration and exclusive content. And remember, life's about progress, not perfection. Cheers to Green and Growing. See you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Green and Growing. I'm your host, Wade Perry of the Perry Properties Group at EXP. Welcome,